So this right here is I guess you could say a long-awaited update for a story that I talked about a couple months ago. And I hope that the Asian American community didn't think we would forget about this, but I'm sure in the midst of a lot of the propaganda they have been putting out about the black community, they thought that this story was just gonna stay buried. But this is an update to a story that involved two Asian American men, one who was a victim and one who was a suspect. The victim is on the right. His name is Kevin Jiang, and the suspect, his name is Qinxuan Pan. I'm probably mispronouncing his name, but he actually murdered Kevin back in February, and they literally was on a manhunt for months to find him. Well, after months long of going after him, on this day, May 14th, 2021, they have found him. Now, look at how long it took them to catch him. It took them, let's see, February when he did, because it was early February. I think it was February 6th when it happened. Yeah, March, April, and they finally catch him in May. So you're talking about roughly about 3.5 months to catch this guy. I'm actually surprised that he was still in the establishment, but I think because his face was plastered everywhere and he was a wanted fugitive, that made him it kind of made it hard for him to kind of escape. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this article coming from the Boston Globe. It says MIT grad student suspect in killing of Yale student arrested after month-long search. The 30-year-old MIT graduate student sought in connection with the February murder of a Yale student was captured Friday morning in Montgomery, Alabama, after a months-long search, according to the U.S. Marshals Service. Now, I think when they said he escaped, I think they said that they thought he maybe had. I kind of figured he went to the South. I told you he's probably trying to make a break for that border, but he didn't get past Alabama. Now, isn't it interesting? This happened back in February. They got that anti-Asian American discrimination bill put on the books at the end of March. And then you didn't really hear about this story anymore. Like, it got buried. And that's not surprising. I'm going to just call him Q Pan because I cannot pronounce his first name. Q Pan is a suspect in the February 6th murder of a Yale student by the name of Kevin Jiang, age 26, who was shot to death in New Haven, Connecticut around 8:30 p.m. at the corner of Lawrence and Nickel Streets in what police initially believed was a road rage incident. Jiang was engaged to Zion Perry, a 2020 MIT graduate. The Connecticut office of the U.S. Marshal Service, which has been leading the search for Pan, announced his capture around 10 a.m. Friday morning. We are pleased to announce this morning the U.S. Marshals Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force, in conjunction with the U.S. Marshals Middle District of Alabama and the Montgomery Police Department, arrested fugitive Q Pan, the statement said. Prior to his capture, Pan was last seen driving with family members in the area of Duluth or Brookhaven in Georgia on February 11th. The manhunt for Pan expanded worldwide on April 8th when the Marshal Service secured a red notice for his capture. See, they said a worldwide search because, like I said before, I would not have been surprised if he tried to flee America. And they probably knew that he could have been able to do that, but he didn't. Pan is a U.S. citizen who was born in China, the Associated Press reported. Pan was initially sought for questioning related to Jiang's killing, but the Marshal Service later secured a warrant for his arrest, charging him with the murder. He also faces a charge of larceny for stealing an SUV from a Mansfield car dealership. On February 6, Pan allegedly drove away from the dealership at around 11 a.m. with dealer plates attached to the 2015 GMC Terrain SLE. He told the dealership's owner he was interested in buying. Pan then allegedly drove the SUV to Connecticut, where the car became stuck on railroad tracks around 10:45 p.m. that evening. North Haven, Connecticut police directed him to a nearby motel after determining the car was inoperable. Pan had disappeared from the motel by the time the police searched for him. Pan swapped the dealer plates on the vehicle for Connecticut plates, authorities said. Now we're getting a little bit of more backstory outside of the initial murder in which he was sought after. Now one thing I didn't notice until I just happened to look up at the screen because I'm reading off my phone. Do you see that little icon next to Q Pan's head that says Interpol red notice? Just know that if you ever get a stamp like that on your mugshot, it's a very, very big deal. Like, that's bigger than the FBI and the U.S. Marshals combined. Why? Because Interpol is search for international police. That means the globe is looking for you. After all, they said they initiated a global search, so that's why they had to enact Interpol. Pan's last known residence was in Malden. Jiang, an Army veteran, was an active member of New Haven's Trinity Baptist Church, which issued a statement mourning his killing in February. As a community, we are grieving deeply right now, but Kevin lived by faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Above all, he looked forward to Jesus' promise of the resurrection from the dead, the church pastors wrote in a statement. Though his earthly life was cut short, he used the time that he had on this earth to the fullest. His example inspires us to do the same. The church, in an email statement Friday, said they were grateful for the efforts of law enforcement. We are grateful for the diligent efforts of law enforcement and for the arrest of the suspect. We continue to pray that the truth will be revealed, that justice will be done, and that God will bring healing and comfort to Kevin's family and loved ones, the pastor said. More information is expected to be released later Friday. Interesting. But guess who was so quiet about this? I'm talking about, you had a lot of Lamestream outlets that they talked about it for a little bit and then it got real quiet. Now they'll probably talk about it again, but they probably gonna keep it quiet again because, see, they can't allow this to go too far because it goes against the narrative that a lot of them have been putting out there when it comes to black people, in particular when it comes to so-called anti-Asian attacks against them from black people. But, you know, more stuff like this happens in their community than they would like. But see, the thing is, they have to have the narrative of the whole proximity on proximity crime, aka black on black crime, in their eyes, only on black people. But proximity crime happens everywhere with every background, not just black people, but that's the stigma that has been placed upon us. Well, here's an example right here. This guy killed someone else over alleged road rage, and he stole a car. And he fled from the scene all the way to Georgia, and they found him in Alabama, and he was missing or on the run for 3.5 months. It took Interpol to find him. That's big. That's major. But I'm just curious to see what the Asian American community is going to have to say about this. I'm talking about the entire thing. I'm talking about the situation that led up to this and everywhere in between. Because, you know, they kept talking about, oh, we're getting attacked and all type of stuff like that. Meanwhile, before this bill got enacted, this occurred over a month before that. But they didn't even say nothing. But I'm not surprised because guess what? The people they're in bed with are the exact same way. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.